Hello, welcome to Local Edition. I'm Leslie Layton. Well, it's not sexy and it's not fun. In fact, unfunded pension liabilities might make your eyes glaze right over, but it could be the next fiscal calamity waiting to happen here in the state of California. With us now is John Moorlach, Senator, and welcome.
Thank you, Leslie. Good to be back.
Unfunded pension liabilities, they come up as I talk to assembly people, senators, city mayors are grappling with the problem of unfunded pension liabilities. But it's such a difficult thing to understand, and a lot of people are thinking, no, I'm going to think about something else. Or why should I care? Why should people, the average person, care about unfunded pension liabilities?
Well, I like the way you started it off. I call it MEGO, M-E-G-O, my eyes glaze over. Mm-hmm. This is such a difficult area. You need actuaries to compute what your bill is.
Okay, well, I guess we should start with, what is an unfunded pension liability?
Exactly. So a defined contribution plan says you get to put money aside every paycheck, and it's in your 401k, and it just builds based on how your investments do. A defined benefit plan, which is the sister pension arrangement, says we're going to give you a retirement based on your age, years of service, your ending salary, and it'll be a formula. So for a police officer, it's 3% at 50. So when they turn 50, they get 3% of their salary for the rest of their life, plus a cost of living adjustment. So if they finish at age 50 with a $100,000 salary, they'll get a $75,000 pension. So that's why they quit at 50.
And for how long do they get that?
For the rest of their lives.
For the rest of their lives.
So you have to fund for that, and you have to estimate how long they will live. So it's a whole different animal.
Okay, so in comparison, most of us will put money away for a rainy day. We'll invest it in a 401k, for instance, and hope that our investments earn a certain amount over time. So what you're saying is with the pension liabilities, these pensions, they get what they're promised no matter what happens in the investment pool. So what happens if there's not enough money to pay these people out?
That's where cities and states are having difficulty. They have to increase their annual contributions, which is now pushing everything out. You know, it's squeezing out road repairs, and it's squeezing out welfare, and all the things that we're supposed to be doing at the city level. It's just pushing and squeezing things out. It's like an ulcer that's growing. And it gets worse because the state pension retirement system, CalPERS, estimates that they'll earn 7.5%. 2 years ago, they only earned 2.4%. So they're 5% short in what they expected to earn. Now, they're supposed to have $400 billion under management. So 5% of $400 billion is $20 billion. So all of a sudden, boom, now we have a bigger liability. This last year, they only earned 0.61%, so they're actually 7% short. So boom, you got 28 billion. So you got about 50 billion overnight in more debt to pay. You got to chop that up into 30 years, let's say, like a mortgage. So you got to pay like 2 to 4 billion a year more. So that comes out of the general fund, and it starts sucking everything out.
And the more money that comes out of the general fund, the less there is left over. If I take home $100 and $50 goes to this, and increasingly maybe even more, 70, as more people retire, then that fund becomes even bigger in its liability.
It just keeps growing.
I know there's been some changes. Governor Brown, even in his more liberal approach to things, had tried to make some even greater changes than he was able to make. So even if we make some changes to how people retire and what they're owed, what does it look like on the horizon for the responsibilities and the burden of those responsibilities on the people of the state of California?
Well, we call it PEPRA, the Public Employee Public Reform Act. It made very minor changes that don't really become impactful for at least 25 years. So, when our kids are our age, they'll probably have a little better solution. So the pig still has to go through the python, this massive liability. So, nice subtle change, but not enough. Some of it I liked. In fact, he even approved and put into law something that I sued the pension plans over because of the retroactive component. So some good stuff, but not enough. What really needs to be done is what the private sector did. All public corporations pretty much went to a defined contribution plan. But because public employee unions are so strong and so powerful, they run Sacramento, and they will not allow that kind of modification. They will not go to a defined contribution plan. And but that's where we have to go. And the issue now is how do we encourage a migration to a more reasonable, less risky plan and still give benefits? And so that's going to be our job for the next year or two or three or five, to convince legislators to allow for a better transition to a more affordable, manageable plan.
So you can understand unions wanting to fight for the people they represent. On the other hand, what happens if no changes are made? What happens to services and the the viability of the state?
Well, I'll give you two examples of what could happen when steel companies go out of business or when airlines go out of business and they had defined benefit plans. The pilots and the workers got a little postcard saying, we can't pay the entire amount of your pension benefits. You'd expected 100% of this number. We're going to give you 40% because that's all the money we have in this pot, and we have to parse it out. Another is the city of Detroit. At least the city of Detroit, when it went into Chapter 9 bankruptcy, Judge Rhodes, the federal judge, said, we can change state contracts in federal court. And he gave all the retirees in Detroit a haircut. He reduced their benefits to try to reduce the cost. So something will happen to retirees that work for government if they didn't plan ahead.
Something might happen to taxpayers.
Oh, absolutely.
In the way that taxpayers might have to pay more to pay them more in their pension liabilities, or the bondholders for the state of California. So what happens there?
Yeah, it all comes to a screeching halt. For those that are really interested, watch the state of Illinois. It has already told its lottery winners not to expect their payments on time. They have a cash flow crunch. And they're raising taxes. Property taxes have gone up dramatically in Illinois. And other taxes will go up. And what will happen, people will move out. And so then the people that stay have to pay even more taxes. So something is going to break, and it's either going to harm both the taxpayers and it's going to harm the members of the plan. And so the members of the plan, the unions, have to realize that something's going to break. They should get in front of it now and fix it. And that's going to be the messaging. That's going to be our job. And now that the LA Times has told you it's a pension crisis, maybe it really is a pension crisis.
When you say get ahead of it, what are the three things that need to happen quickly, in your view, to make a difference here?
Well, if we're going to transition over, what CalPERS does is says, if you want to change and get out of our plan, you have to pay this amount that's due now, this big giant amount of money. Well, we should say, wait a second, let's parse that out over a number of years so that when they transition over to a defined contribution plan, it's manageable for everybody. So that's an accounting actuarial technique that shouldn't be difficult to impose. We need to tell retirees, no COLAs. We can't keep paying out more until we're fully funded. So there's just some ideas where you can say, okay, now if you're a new hire, no defined benefit pension plan. Period. You go into defined
You're no fun
contribution.
at all, but it's something for people to think about here in the state of California. Todd Moorlach, thank you very much.
Thank you, Leslie.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Leslie Layton.